Welcome to the School of the Lost Tribes. Peter's background and name. Peter, originally named Simon, was the son of Jonas or John. His name was changed by Jesus Christ to Peter, meaning rock, Greek Petros, symbolizing his role in the early community of believers. This transformation in his name reflects the foundational role Peter would play among the disciples and in the spreading of the gospel. Verse John 1:42, and he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon the son of John. You shall be called Cephas," which means Peter. Explanation. Here, Jesus directly gives Simon his new name, Cephas, which is Aramaic for rock. This foreshadows Peter's future leadership in the mission to reunite and restore the lost tribes of Israel, aligning him with God's plan to bring the scattered Israelites back into his fold. Peter's hometown and occupation. Peter originally hailed from Bethsaida, but later lived in Capernaum, a town along the Sea of Galilee. He worked as a fisherman, a trade common among Israelites in that region, and it was from this humble occupation that Jesus called him into discipleship. Verse, Matthew 8:14, Mark 1:29, Luke 4:38. And when Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick with a fever. Explanation. Peter's home is mentioned here, located in Capernaum. His life as a fisherman and family man underscores his ordinariness before being called by Jesus. This reinforces the idea that God's call can transform the lives of the most ordinary individuals, including those of Israel's scattered descendants. Peter, as Jesus Christ's disciple. Peter's calling to follow Jesus marks the beginning of his journey as a disciple. Jesus saw in Peter the potential to lead, even though he was just a fisherman. His transformation from fisherman to a fisher of men directly aligns with the mission to gather Israel back to God. Verse, Matthew 4:18-20, Mark 1:16-20, Luke 5:10, John 1:40-42. While walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. Explanation. Peter's calling by Jesus emphasizes the core mission of gathering the lost sheep of Israel, Matthew 10:6. His role as a fisher of men specifically echoes the prophetic call to draw back the Israelites scattered among the nations, bringing them back into the covenant. Peter's immediate response shows his readiness to embrace this divine commission. This structured look into Peter's life highlights the close connection between his calling and the broader mission of restoring Israel. His life as a disciple was marked by this focused purpose of regathering the scattered tribes. Why Christ chose Peter, establishing the exclusive doctrine of Christ and the Israelites. Christ's choice of Peter as a central figure in his ministry was not arbitrary, but deeply connected to Peter's identity as an Israelite and his future role in establishing the doctrine of Christ as it pertains specifically to the lost and scattered tribes of Israel. Peter's calling and role demonstrate how Christ's mission was exclusively aimed at restoring Israel, and how Peter would become the foundational rock upon which the message of salvation, directed toward the chosen people of Israel, would be built. This essay will explore why Christ chose Peter, highlighting Peter's background, his Israelite identity, and how his leadership was instrumental in spreading Christ's exclusive doctrine to the Israelite people. Peter's identity as an Israelite. Peter, originally named Simon, was an Israelite from the region of Galilee, specifically from the town of Bethsaida and later Capernaum. His lineage is directly tied to the Israelite people, and as a son of Jonas or John, he represents the ordinary yet chosen nature of Christ's disciples. Christ's ministry was not aimed at gathering a random assortment of believers from various nations. Rather, it was a focused mission to gather the lost sheep of the house of Israel, Matthew 10:6. By choosing Peter, Christ was reaffirming the covenant that God had made with Israel, selecting someone from among his chosen people to lead the effort to gather the scattered Israelites. Peter's role as a fisherman before being called by Christ symbolizes this mission. His profession as one who gathers fish from the sea parallels the prophetic imagery of regathering the lost Israelites from among the nations where they had been dispersed. Jesus calling Peter to be a fisher of men, Matthew 4:19, aligns with the broader Israelite mission to draw back the descendants of Jacob who had been scattered due to the diaspora. The emphasis here is not on a universal call to all nations, but a specific call to the lost tribes of Israel, reaffirming that Peter's mission was to his fellow Israelites. Peter's role in establishing the exclusive doctrine. The exclusive doctrine of Christ is centered on his relationship with Israel, not on a universalist message. Throughout the Gospels, Christ consistently focused his ministry on Israelites. In Matthew 15:24, Christ explicitly states, "I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." This statement highlights the exclusive nature of his mission. Peter, as the leading disciple, was chosen to embody and carry forward this doctrine. After Christ's death and resurrection, it was Peter who took the lead in proclaiming the message of salvation to Israelites. In the book of Acts, Peter's speeches continually reference Israel's history, God's promises to the patriarchs, and the fulfillment of these promises through Christ. For instance, in Acts 2, during his Pentecost sermon, Peter addresses Israelites directly, saying, "Men of Israel, hear these words." Acts 2:22. His message is steeped in Israelite history and speaks to the fulfillment of God's promises to Israel through Christ. Peter is clear that this message of redemption is for Israelites, not for Gentiles in the modern universalist sense, but for those who are descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Furthermore, in Acts 3:25-26, Peter emphasizes, "Ye are the children of the prophets, and of the covenant which God made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, And in thy seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed. Unto you first God, having raised up his Son Jesus, sent him to bless you, in turning away every one of you from his iniquities." This passage underscores Peter's focus on Israel as the chosen recipients of Christ's blessings. The exclusive doctrine is reaffirmed here, as Peter speaks directly to Israelites, reminding them of their unique covenant with God. Peter as the rock of the Israelite mission. Christ's renaming of Simon to Peter, which means rock, further solidifies Peter's role as the foundational leader of the mission to Israel. In Matthew 16:18, Christ declares, "And I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." This church, often misunderstood in modern theology as a universal church for all peoples, is actually the assembly of the Israelites who would be gathered through the message of the gospel. The term church, Greek ekklesia, here refers to the assembly of Israel, the chosen people of God. Peter's leadership in this church was not about establishing a universal religion, but rather about regathering and restoring the house of Israel. Peter's actions after Christ's ascension illustrate his commitment to this mission. He consistently preached to Israelites and emphasized their central role in God's plan. In Acts 10, although Peter receives a vision that seems to open the way for Gentiles to receive the gospel, it must be understood that these Gentiles were likely Israelites living among the nations, those of the dispersion, as indicated by the consistent theme of the regathering of Israel throughout the New Testament. This aligns with the understanding that the New Testament message was aimed at reuniting the Judean Israelites and the dispersed northern kingdom under the banner of Christ. Conclusion. Christ's choice of Peter as his leading disciple was deeply connected to Peter's identity as an Israelite and his capacity to lead the mission of restoring Israel. Peter's background as a fisherman, his calling to become a fisher of men, and his role as the foundational rock all point to his central place in the exclusive mission of Christ to the Israelites. The exclusive doctrine of Christ, aimed at regathering the lost tribes of Israel, was entrusted to Peter, who faithfully proclaimed this message to his fellow Israelites. Through Peter's leadership, the true nature of Christ's mission to restore Israel and fulfill God's promises to his chosen people was firmly established, emphasizing the exclusive relationship between Christ and Israel, rather than a universalist interpretation that later theological traditions might suggest.